Hey, so Disney just dropped the teaser for Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the very much anticipated adaptation of Percy Jackson that is looking to kind of rewrite some of the wrongs of the movie. And I've been very interested in this because I'm interested in the property, and Rick Riordan seems to be very much more actively involved, obviously, based on all the talk around it. And Percy Jackson has only become, I would argue, more of a thing since the movie came out, especially with the musical, which I have not seen and don't have a large working knowledge of. But the fandom of this property has remained very voracious, and especially as some other fandoms of beloved childhood series are really losing fans because of authorial actions, there seems to be a maintained love for this series. And it is a great, fascinating, fun world to explore, and the idea that this world hasn't been fully explored yet. So I'm very interested in this. I have read, obviously, the original Percy Jackson novels, though a long time ago now, and I would consider myself kind of more of a casual fan in that they first were published after my time as a middle grade reader, so I did not come up with these books. I first read the Percy Jackson series right out of college. And this may not be popular, but that series had to grow on me a little bit based on where I was in my reading life at the time. But I really love the world of these books, even as I still need to read the last book that was released in this world. And I know it's been out for a while, and I've owned it since it came out. And I also come from a generation that has seen their fair share of disappointment in terms of popular works being taken to the screen. And we've recently had an announcement that some of those other failed projects, arguably failed projects, may be getting a second chance. I'm looking at you, Aragon. However, I was also a little hesitant when this was announced because Artemis Fowl is still lingering in my mind, but I reminded myself that that was a whole different thing, and they clearly took that movie to test groups and stripped it of everything that made the book so magical as a child, and I didn't want this series to be stripped of magic in the same way, but it's a completely different developmental process, and with Rick Riordan being involved, I don't foresee that being a thing. So all of that tangent babbling to say, I consider myself a fan of Rick Riordan and the Percy Jackson universe, but I don't consider myself part of the fandom, and not even in the same way as Bridgerton. I am a casual appreciator, but I still thought it would be fun to kind of talk about how they seem to be approaching this, watch the teaser, chat about it, but I'm not going to get all of the nuances and deep cut references that are going to be built in for those that are deeper in the fandom, as it should be and as there should be. So feel free to call out those pieces as you are excited by them or want to talk about them. But for now, let's just watch the thing. All right, I think I'm in place.
Look, I didn't want to be a half-blood. Being a half-blood is dangerous. It's scary. Most of the time, it gets you killed. If you think you might be one of us, my advice is turn away while you still can. Believe whatever lie your mom or dad told you about your birth. Try to live a normal life. Because once you know what you are, they'll sense it too. And they'll come for you. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay, so the trailer really seems to be establishing a feeling and a mood. And while I am hesitant regarding too much voiceover, I have a love-hate relationship with it, and this is clearly a voiceover teaser. And again, it's a teaser. But I think it makes sense, and it's a way to kind of thread all of these clips, all of these pieces, these visuals they want to tie together to set this mood, and it's all camp related. And specifically when Percy is still unclaimed at camp to my watching. And so he is feeling very isolated in a way. He hasn't found that community yet. And I think that this is an indicator that we are going to be spending a lot more time at camp in this, which I think is the perfect choice. It also sets up the danger for these kids, which we get, but in the movie almost felt a little bit more comical. And sure, obviously these books have comedic moments and are supposed to appeal to the humor of their audience, but it didn't feel like the stakes felt as dire for me as a viewer as they did in the book, and how those dire stakes for these campers kind of speak to readers and kids at that age and older about the kind of direness of reality and the idea of being a hero and the potential to be a hero even as you are more of an everyman figure. But I think that the idea of focusing on camp more is a good one, because that is the kind of glue that holds everything together. And I feel like we need to really establish that place in order to kind of feel some of the effects of all of the build of the series later in later books, and because the idea of Camp Half-Blood is part of what makes this world so magical and is where readers really have a lot of fun. And I think that really firmly establishing that is important. I loved the visual of the cabin that we got. I love that it feels of an ancient, older world, and we're gonna be able to see this blending. It feels like the whole teaser was leading us up to seeing Percy's face, which makes sense. We're introducing this character, and Percy is an everyman of a sort. So showing him in such isolation here shows us that he is going to be going on a journey, and it starts us as viewers out with him, and it provides a little bit of intimacy in theory for viewers as they travel with him on this journey. So obviously we didn't get everyone in this teaser because it is a teaser, so we didn't really get to see the dynamic that was going to be built between Percy and Annabeth and Grover. But like I said, it feels like it establishes a mood here, and seeing the campers kind of geared up for battle, this much darker look at things, it doesn't feel like it's going to rob everything of joy, but it feels like it is adding a weight and a seriousness to this world that is there in the text. I will say, if you follow my Bridgerton musings, you know that I have a deep and abiding love of the awfulness that is the Smith-Smythe musicals. So it will be no surprise to you that one of the things I love most about this series is Grover's love of playing Hilary Duff songs. So I was slightly sad that we did not get a Grover version of a Hilary Duff song to bring us into this world, but I understand. And while I feel like So Yesterday would be a great entry back into this world for many of the existing fans, I would actually be surprised but pleased if we actually did get Hilary Duff in the final product, because that was speaking to readers at that moment. It was a Hilary Duff kind of moment when the books first came out. And we can see in subsequent series from Riordan how he kind of updates the pop culture references to meet readers where they are, as they should be. So it will be interesting to see how they kind of both manage to reach out and appease not so much, but honor existing fans, how they acknowledge the deep bond and love of the material that has existed since childhood for many viewers, and also bring in new viewers to the material. I would be actually very interested to get a further peek into dialogue that may have happened behind the scenes in terms of balancing that old and new, and how to, like I said, honor old fans, bring in new fans, and kind of blend the aesthetic and the moment and the tone of all of that. But as much as I'm like, I don't know about voiceover because it feels a little info dumpy, I think that this teaser also knows exactly who is watching it. I think existing fans, this is for existing fans. And I think that there is something very powerful in giving existing fans this teaser where they are being talked to directly by Percy. And it feels intimate in the same way that the books feel intimate because we are so close to his journey. And it feels like a welcome back from a friend, I would assume. So I'm very intrigued by the world that is visually and conceptually being teased here. I would love to hear more thoughts from others, especially those who are a little deeper into the fandom with this. I think this looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I know that the teaser looks a little darker, so it's like fun, but it looks like it's going to get the tone right. And I think too, the idea that it's setting this tone with a little bit more gravitas without it feeling overwrought dropped is a feat too. So very interested to hear what everyone's thinking about this. We'll be super, super interested to see what this final product ends up looking like, and we'll definitely be doing a reread before the series drops. And hopefully for the Percy Jackson fans that have been sticking it out, this looks like it is going to be in line with your hopes and your vision for this world. So let me know. Thanks for letting me babble about my thoughts a little bit, even as a much more casual fan. Read something good? Maybe you need to reread Percy now. Maybe you're in the mood for it. Like and subscribe if you feel like it. And yeah,